Good. So here we are. We started this mimer before, and we forgot to finish it. We got stuck. We got in the middle, and then we got derailed to other things. So let's do this mimer here, and then we'll go back to learn Likutei Torah. Okay. So we finished the mimer just now by the Lubavitcher Rebbe about the importance of going out of Egypt and the meaning of going out of Egypt every day, because the real goal is to bring the future redemption, big miracles that are going to be by means of Mashiach. And we learned that mimer. That, by the way, if you want, it's found in Maimorim Likutim Gimel. It's called Chametz Eretz Yisrael. And now, before we go to Likutei Torah, which we've been learning every week with God's help from the book Likutei Torah, but let's finish this mimer that we started. And what's the mimer that we started? I'll give you a short reminding. It talked about why it's forbidden to eat chametz. So this comes after a long mimer about chametz, why it is good to eat matzah. What is matzah? And we learned that matzah is called the food of faith. And that it says that a child cannot really recognize his father until he eats a wheat or grain. That's what it says. A child doesn't really recognize his father, his physical father, until he eats grain. Maybe as a biological connection, like a cat, a dog, whatever. But anyways, he doesn't really recognize his father until he eats grains. That's what it says. So therefore, God chose grain, wheat, to be used as food for the matzah, for this food of faith. It doesn't have to be made of wheat. It can be made of any one of the 5 grains. It can be made from oatmeal also, matzah. But we usually use wheat. So in order to make, because this is called the food of faith. Matzah is food of faith. Before they ate the matzah, and they ate this right before they left Egypt, right? They had to eat the Paschal lamb or goat, and they had to eat it together with matzah. And there was also a separate commandment just to eat matzah alone. So it says matzah is the food of faith. So one reason is because it's made of wheat, and wheat is the ability to recognize your father. And this here was commanded by our Father in heaven. Number one. Number two, it's a commandment. It's a commandment. Even God would have told us to eat potatoes. That would have also connected us to him, because every commandment connects us to God. But wheat or grains says opens up our mind also. In other words, the top of our mind, which is faith, having an awareness of something that we don't understand. Understanding is a little bit lower than awareness. And also matzah, and this is what we're going to talk about here. Matzah is what we call unleavened bread, which means it doesn't get puffed up. And we said that the difference between leavened bread and unleavened bread is exactly the same. The difference is just that it waits a little while. And you put water and flour together, and that's what you make matzah from. But only on the condition that you don't leave this water and flour alone for like 18 minutes in a room of normal temperature. Because if you do that, if it's a warm room, then it's even shorter. Then it becomes officially chametz. And you can see if you take a dough and you make it, you just leave it out, that after a while it sort of becomes white on the outside and it sort of raises in little cracks. You can see forming. In other words, it swells up a little bit. And you wait a little while longer to speed up the process. So they put yeast and things like that. But what is it though? It just expands the dough so that it looks like something that it really isn't. All these empty spaces that are in the dough look like it's part of the bread, but it's really not. Real true bread is matzah. What you see, that's what there is. So it says you can also see the difference in the word. Remember we learned this? Also, you can see the difference in the word chametz and the word matzah. So they have exactly the same letters. Chametz and matzah, both of them have mem tzadik, matzah, matzah, and chametz is chametz. So the mem tzadik is in both of them. The difference between them is one is a chet and the other one has a hey. What's the difference between a chet and a hey? Remember we learned this? The difference between a chet and a hey is just a little tiny space on the top. Both of them have 3 lines, but the difference is they look almost exactly the same. From a distance, you can't tell the difference. You have to look close, and then you can see here we have this letter here is a chet. See, it's closed up on the top. See, and here we got chachma. There's a chet in the beginning and a hey in the end. Looks almost like the same. You have to look really close to see the little space over there. Let's make it bigger here. Let's do a enlargement. Oh, there we go. Here we go. The letter hey and the letter chet. Chet is closed up here, and the letter hey is opened up. So it says, what does this hint at? This letter chet and the letter hey, this romez, this hints at the chachma bina v'dat. It says the gag, the top is chachma bina v'dat. The right side are the emotions. Let's go back smaller. Oh, yeah. Too small. No, that's all we got. That's all we got. That's it. And that's the emotions, chesed, gevurah, tiferes, love, fear, and balance. On the left is netzach, hod, yesod. That's like action in the world. But in any case, there's a little space on the top, and this space represents like the reason why Jewish men put a kippah on their head. Why do you put a kippah? To remind us there's something above our head. There's something above our intelligence. There's something that we don't understand. We don't really understand God. We can't, it's not even in the category of understanding. And that's this little hole in the top of the chet. It lets something above understanding in. That's the idea of faith. Faith is an awareness, it's intellect, but it's above understanding. Okay, so it says this little hole, this is the ray of chachma that shines in through, which we explained in long length in the previous Maimorim that was before this about the importance of eating matzah. This Maimor is telling us how bad it is to eat chametz. It says, b'chachma, in this aspect of chachma, faith in God, it's written, yamutu v'lo b'chachma. It's a sentence in Job. You ever read the book of Job? Beautiful poems, tragic book. Tragic book. In the end, he has, if you want to call it a happy ending, he gets everything back, but tragic book. And he has these friends that come and they spout out these beautiful philosophies about God and about the world and about what's right and wrong and reward and punishment and why the evil succeed and why Job, who is truly righteous, is suffering, etc. And anyway, they're explaining the greatness of God. And he says, Yamutu v'lo b'chachma. Things die, but not with wisdom. With wisdom, there's no death. Now, chitzonium, the external forces, which are called death, they don't have any connection to chachma. They have no connection to what's faith in God. Shibachin is bittul. This is bittul koach ma. So this is the secret of matzah. The secret of matzah is the connection, internal connection to something higher than yourself. In other words, before you go out and puncture your next door neighbor's tires because he drives over your lawn, right? Before you do it, and he deserves it and everything, but you think to yourself, listen, is this really what God wants? He's got this little sort of space in his mind, and he thinks, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should control myself a little bit. That's what's called the revelation of something above you. Conscience, you want to call it conscience. Zesod matzah. This is the idea of matzah. So therefore, because of this revelation of chachma, which is in the top, which is near the roof, this pushes away all the evil forces. And they haven't got any ability to nurture from your personality. For instance, why did the Jews serve the golden calf? Because they got afraid. Moses wasn't there to lead them. They were afraid. And because of this fear, they just had seen God 40 days earlier in Mount Sinai, but they thought God left. God is not here. And Moses, we talked about it before, he's a God man. We'll talk about this in a few minutes in the Sikha. Moshe was God's representative. As long as Moses was there, they knew that God was with them. As soon as Moses wasn't there and the revelation of Mount Sinai wasn't there, so they forgot that the fact is God is there. But they had to open their mind to it a little bit. They had to open their hearts. And they didn't want to open their hearts. They just got afraid. Because they were afraid, so they felt alone, they worshiped the golden calf. They participated in the worship. That's the idea of eating matzah. Matzah is serving God like a baby, like a child, without any understanding, right? Matzah is baby food. When the Jews left Egypt, it was like going out of the womb. The Jews were like little babies. Any little thing, they had no idea what it meant to be autonomous. They had no idea what it meant to make your own decisions and to choose God. When they were in Egypt, they were stuffed all the time. The most that they could do was just hold on in secret to the Judaism that they had. It says they didn't change their names, they didn't change their language, their garments. And so it says, if there's this little hole on the top, if a person has this little connection to, maybe God really exists, and maybe God really cares what I do, and maybe God is the source of good and bad, and the Torah tells me what exactly those things are, good and bad. Right? That opening, that's like a child connected to his father. Right? There's somebody lurking around the corner saying, "Hey, kid, you want to buy a picture? You want this? Right? Want to have a candy? You want to take a little, drug? Take a pill?" He remembers, no, my father told me not to do this. He's aware of his father. He's aware of something else than the immediate situation. That's the opening on the top. And that prevents there being an overemphasis on the big opening below, that the world doesn't have too much of a negative effect on us. Which is not the case. Chametz, that's what the good thing is, but Chametz is lacking this hole on the top. And this hence at the concealment of the light of Chachma, this light of connection to God, let's call it faith, above understanding, into Malchut, into us. And therefore, the external forces are able to get nurture from this below, because their feet go down to death. What is the antidote to death? The antidote to death is faith in God. It's true, everybody's going to die anyway. I mean, eventually there's going to be the raising of the dead also. But here we're talking about dying, being connected to death, being connected to selfishness. So this is the secret of the puffing up of the chametz. The chin is yesh. Why is it puffed up? And egotism, false egotism, because there's no surrender to the light of Chachma. There's no surrender to anything above us. This is when the Chametz, when this Chametz prevent us from connecting to God. When is it that this little hole on the top has to be there? And if it's not there, then we're going to do bad things. Then this lack of connection to God with the matzah, this is only in Passover. Afterwards, you can eat as much bread as you want. After Passover, then, because Passover is the beginning of the receiving of this faith. It's the birth of the Jewish people. The essence of the Jewish people is connecting to God. We're a holy nation. And then going out of Egypt, which that's the little level of smallness. What's called smallness Abba. Abba is another name, Kabbalistic name for Chachma. In the 3rd chapter of the Tanya tells, right in the beginning. But when there shines in the Jewish souls a big awareness of God, Beriah, and seeing godliness, when was this? This is the secret of Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, and Shvi Shel Pesach, and the 7th day of Passover, when God revealed this big revelation to the Jews. And first of all, in the 7th day of Passover, when the sea split, it says that all the water, all the concealment in the world, all the heavens split. And also in Matan Torah, when God gave the Torah, that this is the idea. Then there was a big revelation of God. Everyone saw and felt. It's like everyone was in the Holy of Holies. As then, after revelations like this, they didn't need the matzah anymore. Then they had the ability to do what Jews are supposed to do, what Jews were chosen for, to make this physical world into a holy place. They didn't have to avoid the world. This revelation of conscience and connection to God was now in a permanent way. Matzah is just like baby food, like I said. It's beginning to give us a basic connection to God. But afterwards, at Mount Sinai, God gave us a big connection. then the Jewish people are able to go about their work. Lalot, like an older person, right? An older person is a baby. You have to take care of him. You have to remember he's your father. You have to do good. But when he gets older, then he can go into the world. He can deal with money. He can run a big candy shop, right? And things, when he was a little child, he would eat candy until he was sick. He can have a candy shop, and now he can not be tempted by the candies at all, because he knows the candies are there in order to, children should learn Torah, to give them a reward for, to make life sometimes a little bit more, how do you say, peppy. You know, you're tired, you take a little candy. Oh, and as he realizes that candies have a good purpose to them. Before that, the child goes crazy for candies. The same thing the Jews, when they left Egypt, they were crazy for anything, right? For everything. They were just a little bit, they wanted to go back to Egypt all the time. So therefore, they had to eat matzah. They had to eat matzah. And matzah gave them this first basic connection to God. This gave them the power, but after they received the Torah and the splitting of the sea, the revelations of God, then they had the power. They still had free will. They could do what they wanted to. But then they had the power also to elevate the Chametz, to elevate their egotism as well. And that's what God wants. He wants a world where we make choices and we reveal God in these choices. We can choose selfishness, or we can choose Judaism, egotism or Judaism. This indicates then, after we receive the Torah, this shows on a bigness of a mature understanding of God, which is below, but lamata, below matzah, as it comes from its true source, this holds in it a potential for bigness awareness of God. Just below, before we make the right choice, it's yesh, matz, chametz. Chametz is yesh, it's egotism. But when we reveal the gift that was given to us at Mount Sinai, the Torah, and the revelation of God there, then we can purify even the yesh, even egotism of chametz. And it can be included in a big awareness of God. That's the idea of Mashiach, to make the world a revealed place of godliness, the holy temple. Because there, the world really comes from God. The world is not a product of the devil or something. The world is being created by God all the time. The devil himself is being created by God all the time. The devil is called the Satan. It's the urge to go against the Creator, or to forget the Creator totally. And this is all creations of God. And when do we get the power to fix this up? When the Torah was given. And a preface to that was the splitting of the sea. Therefore, the two breads that are brought on Shavuot, on the holiday of the giving of the Torah, they come from Chametz. It's the only, like I said, the only time that it was forbidden to bring Chametz into the Holy Temple. The only two times you could bring was in what's called the Thanksgiving offering. 4 of the breads was in the Thanksgiving offering. 10 of the breads of the 40 breads, 10 of the 40 breads of the Thanksgiving offering were Chametz, and the 2 breads of the Shavuot, the holiday when the Torah was given. Sha'az then is the revelation of a big awareness of God. And also the breads which are brought in the Thanksgiving offering, they also come 10 breads of Chametz. But in all the other sacrifices, and also in Passover for sure, even outside of the Holy Temple, we are prohibited and warned about the dangers of Chametz, because Chametz is selfishness, egotism, for the reason we said before, because then on Passover, which is the beginning of the Jewish people, you cannot elevate this Chametz, like it's explained in a long length in the Maimer Mizmor LaTorah in the Siddur of the Rebbe. And if a person eats Chametz on Passover, the punishment is very severe. Koret, getting cut off from heaven. Like it says, V'nichrata nafsho. His nichrata nefesh, his soul is cut off, and he's not able to receive this faith, which is the foundation of serving God. So the importance of eating matzah and the importance of avoiding chametz on Passover. Good. So we finished this mimer that we started. Now